I had a call with President Putin and congratulated him on the victory, his electoral victory. The call had to do also with the fact that we will probably get together in the not-too-distant future.
That was Donald Trump last week saying he congratulated Russian leader Vladimir Putin on winning re-election. It's another example of the U.S. president making positive and public comments about Russia. But today, Mr. Trump took his most forceful action to date against Moscow, ordering 60 Russian diplomats expelled from the U.S. The panel is back to weigh in. Charles, first to you. I'm wondering, we've been very critical of Trump for not taking tough enough action against Russia. Does he deserve praise here?
I think it's a good step to do something, right? And this is an attack on another country, but I mean, it's one of our allies. We have an attack on our country, which I think the response has been slow and lethargic, and I think that's still a problem. And there's two ways that you respond to something, both in your action and in your rhetoric. The action has been slow and tepid. The rhetoric has been non-existent. I still can't figure out what that's about. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what that's about. And until maybe Mueller will find out what that's about, but somebody needs to tell us why. Because he had an opportunity to be strong both in word and in action, and he chose not to do it.
Steve, I wonder why you think the president himself doesn't come out and say these things about Putin, and his administration officials have been doing that instead.
Well, he's been very strategic in dealing with Putin. At the end of the day, we're going to have to deal with the Russians. We're going to have to deal with Putin, whether it be a new arms race, a new Cold War. We're going to have to be able to sit down, or if the president is, and be able to deal with him. So I kind of agreed, based on my experience with the military and how these things develop. He's not throwing Putin out the door. But today was also a signal to Vladimir Putin that we're not going to forsake our allies. We're going to stick with them, and where action is necessary, the president's going to take it.
I wonder if you guys think that he had no choice but to do this, given all of the American allies.
Otherwise, it would look like the allies were leaving us behind. In fact, the president's own new national security advisor, John Bolton, I think Charles is going to agree with John Bolton for once in his life. John Bolton says actions like this don't work. You need to be forceful and strong, because you know the message Putin got? He's only seeing a statement from the administration. He's not even hearing the president say this was wrong and it needs to go out. The president in public defends him, and that's all that matters. When you're Vladimir Putin and you're hearing that Donald Trump is praising you or saying nice things or even saying maybe it wasn't the Russians who did this or that, then you're saying, okay, that's the only person I have to impress, not the person writing the statement. At the same time, you need to go out and hit them very hard with sanctions. The Russians are going to send more spies back in. This is like me punishing you for punching me in the face by just going like that.
And David, the administration has not fully implemented the sanctions that were overwhelmingly passed by Congress last year. That's an issue, too.
Look, the reason why it's so apparent that the president coddles Vladimir Putin is because we have to work with all sorts of characters. President Xi in China, we have to work with our allies, and that never stops the president from jawboning them. I mean, he's critical of the Chinese, of the Europeans all of the time. And so it's noticeable that he has gone easy on Putin. Today's action, however, was very forceful, and it shows the gap between presidential rhetoric and presidential action. The president's critics on Russia in the Republican Party were very praiseworthy. His critics in the Democratic Party, Mark Warner, senator from Virginia, Democratic ranking member on the Intelligence Committee, was very complimentary of the president's actions. I think today's actions were significant and were real, unlike some of the faux actions that the administration has taken in the past. And look, the personnel that he has now added, Mike Pompeo at State, John Bolton at the National Security Agency, Security Council, whatever you think of them and their other politics, they are Russia hawks. Yeah. And the advice they're going to be giving this president is to get tough on Putin, because it's the only thing he understands. The rhetoric, as Charles mentioned, I think, is the key missing ingredient that would help the president start to shape events in regard to Russia that were more beneficial to the United States.
The president could actually remove a lot of the cloud around him regarding what happened with him in the campaign in Russia if he came out and gave a press conference where he said, you know what? I tried this approach of being nice. I tried the carrot approach, and now it's time for the stick.
And
if he does that, that would actually be
positive. Let's be speculative then. then why wouldn't he do that, right? So if it's just a cloud, if it's just his tact and he's trying to be nice and it is not working, he could change tack.
Guys, we're gonna have to leave it at there. I'm sorry to cut you off, panel. Thank you so much for the great discussion. This is day 431 of President Trump's administration.